We're back, chat. My fault. I don't want this audio to be too loud for you, so I'm just gonna get back then. We'll watch from the start.
The Resident
But,
Evil Requiem DLC conversation.
I don't know if you heard me yapping about this, but he mentions 5 upcoming remakes. So keen for, honestly, so keen for all of them. They're really working hard. Like, you got to give props to them. You got to give props. You know, you got Code Veronica remake coming. I think that's first after the DLC. That's 2027. Code Veronica, the new Code Veronica. And yeah, I've heard a lot about the new Code Veronica. A lot of leaks as well. Well, not a lot, but there's been big leaks. But overall, just super excited.
Yeah. Just changed completely, and I mean completely. Since the last time we covered this, a lot has happened. New leaks dropped, a hidden message was found inside the game itself, the launch window that everyone was counting on got flipped upside down, and on top of all of that, we now have what looks like a full 5-year roadmap for the entire Resident Evil franchise, and it is absolutely packed. But here's the thing, a lot of what's been going around online mixes confirmed stuff with pure speculation, and I want to make sure we're only talking about what's actually real and what it actually means. So today we're going through all of it. The new leaks, the characters, the timeline, and of course the mystery that has the entire internet obsessed right now, Leon Kennedy's wedding ring. So if you've been following this story, stick around, because today goes way deeper than anything we've covered before. Hit the sub button if you want to stay updated every time something new drops on this, and let's get into it. Let's start with something that honestly blew my mind when I first saw it, because it was right there the whole time and almost nobody noticed. A player was going through Resident Evil Requiem, just exploring, looking around, and found a bottle of wine sitting on a shelf inside the game. Now that sounds completely unremarkable. These games are full of props and background details, but this particular bottle had a name on it that stopped the community cold. The bottle is called Avernico. Take a second with that, Avernico. Doesn't ring a bell at first, right? But take those letters, A-V-E-R-N-I-C-O, and rearrange them. Go ahead. That spells Veronica, as in Resident Evil Code Veronica. When this got posted on...
Maybe a stretch. Maybe a coincidence. May not be.
Online, the community completely lost it. And it wasn't just fan excitement running wild. Dusk Golem, who is genuinely one of the most reliable Resident Evil insiders out there, confirmed that this is a deliberate nod from Capcom. They put that bottle in that game on purpose. They hid the name of their next project inside a prop on a shelf in RE9, knowing that someone would eventually find it. And honestly, think about how much confidence that takes. You only do something like that when you know the next game is real, it's coming, and you want to start planting seeds before you're ready to say anything officially. Capcom isn't just teasing Code Veronica, they're already so sure about it that they snuck a reference into the game that launched 2 weeks ago. Did you spot this when you were playing? Because I genuinely want to know how many people just walked right past that bottle without a second thought.
Susan,
drop it in the comments. This
Susan
Easter egg is important beyond just being a cool little detail, because it anchors everything else we're going to talk about today.
It's all in me,
the full roadmap, the DLC's role in the bigger picture, the timing of announcements, it all connects.
I'm going to ask, who do you think you would have preferred? Like, when playing Requiem, spoilers. I was really sort of hoping we got a Xeno boss fight. Just saying. Made him out to be this top-notch villain, just to get humbled at the end. Just gonna say, I won't say anything what happens, but yeah, and we got Victor Gideon, which is fine. He was there from the start. He's still badass, I'll tell you that. But Xeno was cool. Xeno was like fucking. I was like, yeah, that's him. He's him. But
back to the fact that Capcom is playing a very long game right now, and they are clearly very confident about where things are headed.
It was really good.
All right, now let's get into the actual DLC, because there's been a significant update on where development actually stands, and it changes the whole conversation about when this thing is coming out. Back in November 2025, before Requiem had even launched, Dusk Golem
I reckon it'll release around August, September.
was already reporting that a DLC was in development, and further along than you'd expect for a game that hadn't shipped yet. At the time, there were no details on the story or the characters. It was just, hey, this is real and it's moving fast. Then on March 3rd, he posted a longer thread on X that filled in a lot of the blanks. And the key line from that thread was this.
I played it for 14 hours straight, just saying.
DLC is already late in development. Now, sit with that for a second.
It's worth it.
Requiem launched February 27th. Days later, a trusted insider is confirming that the DLC is in its final stages. This wasn't something Capcom scrambled to put together after seeing the sales numbers. This was being built while the base game was still being finished. And Dusk Golem explained exactly why that happened.
It was.
The DLC was
worth it,
originally
though. Worth
conceived
it.
to fill the gap between Requiem and the next wave of Resident Evil releases, specifically the Code Veronica and RE0 remakes. It was meant to give players something to do while they waited. But here's the wrinkle.
This DLC is gonna make tons. Like, you look at the game, the base game, 5 million copies in the first 5 days. It's over 6 million now. It's ridiculous. Can I turn on the videos here? Thank you for letting me know. Yes, I will.
Requiem
How's that?
itself got
Hello?
delayed multiple times during development. The game was originally targeting 2023 under a different name, got pushed to 2025, and ultimately came out in February 2026. So the DLC that was being built to bridge the gap between games
Sweet. Thanks
is
for
now
letting me know.
much closer to
Appreciate
the
it.
base game's release than anyone originally planned. Basically, the gap it was
Australia.
designed to fill doesn't need filling anymore, which means we might not have to wait very long at all. Capcom made it official on March 10th when director Koshi Nakanishi appeared in a video on social media. He thanked fans for the incredible reception, mentioned that Requiem had already crossed 5 million copies sold, and then held up a piece of paper that read, "Story expansion now in development." He said it will delve deeper into the world of Requiem and that the team is working hard.
Have you actually seen that video? He was messing with us. He was like, he had these different papers and he was like sliding and they were like AI pictures or just jokes. And then the very last page was expansion coming soon.
hard on it.
He was
By
messing with
March
us.
16th,
Texas,
Requiem
that's
had
cool,
crossed
that's cool.
6 million copies, making
was
it
it
the
there?
fastest selling entry in franchise
I wonder
history.
if it's good.
And with a game performing at that level, you better believe Capcom is moving fast on that expansion. This is where it gets really interesting because we have multiple leaks from different directions pointing at different characters, and when you put them all together, the DLC starts to look a lot bigger than just a simple story add-on. Let's go through each one. Ada Wong is the name that broke the internet a few days ago. On March 17th, Dusk Golem posted on X saying that Ada is very likely in the Requiem DLC. But what makes this different?
Okay, I gotta talk about this actually. I like Ada Wong. Liked her in 2 and 4. Personally, I think Claire deserves a cameo at least in the DLC. Ada does too, obviously. There's some closure that there needs to be there, sort of. But same with Claire. Even though she's getting a code, like the Code Veronica remake, she's obviously the main protagonist. But yeah, I think she should make a cameo.
From regular speculation is
One of
the
my favorites.
source. This wasn't a tip from one of his contacts. This came from an accidental public slip. Someone with direct ties to Capcom made a mistake in a public setting. 2 creators caught it and both confirmed it's real. Dusk Golem was deliberately vague about what the slip was and who was responsible because he said it was
Dusk
clearly an
Golem's
honest
locked.
mistake
He
and he
knows
didn't want to
everything.
get anyone in
It's
trouble,
crazy.
but he was unambiguous about one thing. The leak itself is real. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, that he has no full picture of what the DLC looks like, but this specific piece of information is undoubtedly true. Ada Wong hasn't been in a mainline Resident Evil game since RE6. That's a long time, and her returning right after we find out Leon is married.
RE6 is 2011 or 2012. 2012. I gotta look at this. It's 2012, I think. I'm in. Okay. $2012, I think. I'm in, bro. I'm in. Yeah. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Even though she's
It's not a
appeared in remakes,
coincidence, but
still
we'll
is
get
real.
into what that actually means in a bit. Leon Kennedy is the other major piece of the puzzle. Multiple sources, including Dusk Golem, are pointing toward the DLC being Leon-led. And there's a really specific detail here that I think a lot of people haven't fully absorbed. Dusk Golem mentioned that the DLC could feature cut content from latent development, meaning there were Leon scenes and sequences that were built, finished, and then removed from the base game. Rather than throwing that away, Capcom apparently folded it into the DLC. If that's true, it explains everything. It explains why the DLC is already so far along. It explains why the story feels like it's picking up directly from the game's ending rather than branching off in a new direction. The foundation was already there, they just needed to build around it. And honestly, do you feel like there were things Requiem left unresolved with Leon's story? because I think a lot of players finished the game and felt like there was more to tell. If this DLC is filling in those blanks with content that was nearly ready anyway.
I mean, not really. He sort of got his closure with Raccoon City, with Mr. X, with Brad. Is Brad? That's his name, isn't it? I think. Yeah, he got a bit of closure. You know, it was a very happy ending. But how they let it up with Captain Redfield. Yeah, there's still some future for him, I believe. I don't think he's done.
That could make for a really cohesive experience.
Don't think he's
Alyssa
done.
Ashcroft is the third name in play, and this one doesn't get talked about enough. Early on, before
Is
the
there supposed to be
Leon
two
rumors became dominant,
DLCs?
Dusk Golem mentioned that
believe
Capcom
there
had
is.
built a fully playable version of Alyssa Grace's mother that was rigged and ready to go, but never made it into the main game. He didn't have further context on what she was going to be used for, but the implication is clear. Think about what Alyssa's story could add here. She connects Requiem directly to Resident Evil Outbreak. Her disappearance is the entire reason Grace ends up where she does in the main game. Her story before the events of Requiem is full of unanswered questions. A DLC that lets us play as Alyssa, either as a prequel or as a parallel story running alongside the main game's events, would add so much emotional weight to Grace's arc retroactively. So we could be looking at a DLC with 3 distinct playable threads: Ada, Leon, and Alyssa. Whether that's one expansion or gets broken up across multiple releases.
It's going to be broken up. I don't think all 3 should be in one. While I love those characters, every single one of them, and I'd love to see every single one of them in the game, I think that should definitely do 2.
We don't know yet, but the building blocks are there.
Again,
and it
gotta
makes
have
a lot
clear.
of sense from a narrative standpoint.
Gotta have clear.
Okay, this is the part that
an
genuinely
RE2.
surprised me, because I had been fully bought into the October Theory, horror game, Halloween season,
It'll be around
peak engagement
Halloween,
for the
that's not
genre. It all made sense. And then Dusk Golem said something that completely reframed the timeline. He pointed to the RE9 amiibos releasing on July 30th, 2026. These amiibos unlock weapon skins and in-game content for Requiem, and Dusk Golem said, and this is a direct quote, "I'm very suspicious of the RE9 amiibos releasing on July 30th that add weapon skins and such. That feels like part of a bigger DLC marketing push if you asked me." Think about how Capcom typically handles these rollouts.
Potentially. I mean, it's just the expansion pack, though. That's what I believe.
Merchandise, accessories, and social media pushes don't happen in a vacuum. They're timed to coincide with something bigger. Launching amiibos that unlock in-game content with no DLC attached is a pretty underwhelming moment, but launching those same amiibos as part of a coordinated campaign around a major story expansion, that's a full event. And when you stack that on top of everything else, the DLC already being in late development, the cut content that's practically finished, the fact that Requiem itself came out earlier in the year than expected, a summer window isn't just possible, it's starting to look like the plan. So instead of October, we might be looking at July or August for the DLC launch, months earlier than most people were expecting.
Heads up.
There's also the GTA 6 factor. That game launches in November, and no publisher in their right mind is
You wouldn't
releasing a
do it
major
near-
DLC anywhere near that window. Getting Requiem's expansion out in the summer clears the runway completely, lets it own its moment, and still leaves space for a Code Veronica announcement toward the end of the year.
But you think of, like, the money that they are going to make from not only Requiem alone, but the DLC as well. Like, it's going to be a great year.
The timing is lining up in a way that's hard to
Financially.
ignore. What do you think? Would you rather have it in summer, or would you trade a few more months of wait for something bigger and more polished? We have to talk about the ring, because even with everything new that's dropped, this is still the conversation that keeps pulling everyone back in. And Ada Wong's confirmed return to the DLC makes it more complicated and more exciting than ever. At the very end of Resident Evil Requiem, Leon Kennedy reaches into his pocket and puts on a wedding ring. No dialogue, no acknowledgement. Capcom just dropped it in the final moments of the game and let the internet do the rest. Director Koshi Nakanishi addressed it in an interview with Eurogamer, and what he said was both the most satisfying and most frustrating answer he could have given. He confirmed Leon is married. He said Capcom wanted to show that Leon now has a place to go home to. And then when asked directly who his wife is, the answer will become clear someday, but not just yet. He also added something that I think a lot of
They're gonna
people
milk
glossed
that.
over. He said, what does the ring signify? Resolve or a vow? Which is a fascinating way to frame it, because he's leaving open.
I'm afraid they're going to milk out this marriage thing for a while. Like, I don't think we'll find out in the DLC. Maybe a hint, but I don't think we'll have the answers until a while. I really want to know. I'm very intrigued.
The possibility